Incorporate. Where is the interpreter? I'll check with my colleagues. Okay, yeah.
All right, yeah, that's it.
Totally nice.
We'll get in there.
Majimbos, your sound is good now. Online, Shimani, are you good for your name?
Recording in progress.
Majimbos, can we proceed? Cameras?
Just say something.
Okay, Dr. Masuku,
Okay, can you hear me?
let's check your sound.
You can hear me? I can't sing. I could have sung.
Dr. Masuku, he said that it's raining. No, it's not raining. You want additional mic with that?
Sign language.
Sign language. Hi.
Hello, Mapiri. How are you? Yes, I did say hi to Umbali when I came in. Is it working, the test? Wonderful.
Yes, it is. Good afternoon to all of you. I take this opportunity to welcome all of you to Election House in the Electoral Commission. I welcome the audience that is here physically with us and the audience that is joining us virtually. Before I proceed, allow me to introduce the people that you have sitting out here. On my right-hand side, you've got the chairperson of the Electoral Commission, Mr. Glenn Mashinini. On my left-hand side, you've got the vice chairperson of the Electoral Commission, Ms. Janet Love. On her left side is the commissioner of the Electoral Commission, Mr. Msutu Miepe. On the chairperson's right-hand side is the chief executive officer, Mr. Simon Mabulo. And in the room, you've got members of his EXCO sitting across the room and other support staff within the Electoral Commission. We thank you for taking the time to join us. The chairperson is going to elaborate on the purpose of this press briefing. Suffice to say that it follows on the back of us having received an order from the Constitutional Court. You do remember, I hope, if you can forget it, that we had approached the Constitutional Court. We have received an order from the court, and we are here in order to chart a way forward for following us receiving that order. With those few words, may I take this opportunity to welcome the chairperson of the Electoral Commission to make his statement. Chairperson?
Thank you, Program Director, the fellow commissioners present here, the senior management led by our CEO, and the members of the Fourth Estate with us today. Allow me to welcome all of you to this media briefing. As all of us are aware, on Friday, the 3rd of September 21st, the Constitutional Court set aside the proclamation by the Minister of Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs, by which she proclaimed the 27th of October, 2021 as the date for our local government elections 2021. And the court further instructed the Commission to, within 3 days after the date of the order, determine if it is practical to hold a voter registration weekend, to inform the Minister of COPTA of its determination and publicly make an announcement in this regard. And should the Commission determine that it is feasible to hold a registration weekend, on the day following the registration weekend, the Minister of ConCourt must issue a proclamation for the date of local government election in the period from the 27th of October to the 1st of November 2021. And the timetable published on the 4th of August shall, notwithstanding the provisions of Section 11(1) of the Local Government Municipal Structures Act 27/2000, remain applicable, save that as soon as possible after the issuing of the proclamation envisaged, the Commission must, in terms of Section 11(2) of the Municipal Electoral Act, publish amendments to the current timetable as may be reasonably necessary. And if the Commission determines that it is not practically possible to hold a voter registration weekend, the Minister of ConCourt must not earlier than the 10th of September 2021 issue a proclamation in terms of Section 24(2) of the Structures Act determining a date for local government election in the period of the 27th of October and the 1st of November 2021. And between the 3rd and the 10th of September 2021, eligible voters who wish to register may apply to do so at the relevant municipal office. And I am pleased to announce, ladies and gentlemen, that then the Commission has already taken measures to ensure that it complies with the orders of the Constitutional Court relating to the conduct of municipal elections by the 1st of November 2021. Although the orders were handed down without a reasoned judgment at this stage, it is important that the Commission proceeds with a deliberate speed to comply with the decision of the Constitutional Court in the fulfillment of its mandate, notwithstanding the current circumstances. The Commission is of the view that it must take all necessary measures to ensure an electoral process that is free and fair, striving for safety within the constraints occasioned by the prevailing COVID-19 pandemic, and the Commission calls on the key role players to then cooperate in this particular regard. In order to give impetus to the preparation of the election, the Commission met over the weekend to assess whether a registration weekend can be practical before elections. And having considered and deliberated on the matter, the Commission has made a determination that a registration weekend is a necessity ahead of these general elections. Therefore, a registration weekend is now scheduled for the weekend of the 18th and 19th of September 2021. And this registration weekend will offer all eligible citizens an opportunity to register or update their registration details. All the 23,151 voting stations will be opened at 8 a.m. until 1700 on both days. The Commission urges, in particular, the young people to take advantage of this opportunity to register and eventually to actually participate in voting. The Commission also held a consultative meeting over the weekend with the Minister of ConCourt. And in line with the orders of the court, the Commission advised the Minister that it will be proceeding with the registration weekend on the 18th and 19th of September. And this means, therefore, the Minister will, on the 20th of September, proclaim the date of the election. And this proclamation of an election date will cause the voters' roll to be closed for the purposes of the 2021 municipal elections. The Commission has indicated its preference of the election date to the Minister who is now considering the matter, it is the Commission's wish that the election date is announced sooner to allow the electoral stakeholders to prepare within the short time to the date of the 1st of November. In view of the fact that the voter registration process has been reopened by the order of the court, a number of amendments to the electoral timetable are necessary. And this is permitted by the Constitutional Court order, which makes clear the Commission is entitled to publish such amendment to the current timetable as may be reasonably necessary. And this includes the need to set a new deadline for the candidate nominations. And the scheme of the Municipal Electoral Act is that the voter registration deadline is intended to precede the candidate nomination deadline. For example, persons can only be nominated as candidates once registered on the voters' roll and provided they are registered in the relevant segment concerned. It is therefore necessary to allow political parties and independent candidates an opportunity to nominate candidates after the registration weekend of the 18th and 19th of September 2021 has occurred and after the voters' roll has closed. A meeting of the National Political Party Liaison Commission was held earlier today, and it is clear from those proceedings and that there are different interpretations among the parties as to whether the order of the Constitutional Court permits the Commission to reopen nominations. The Commission has taken an advice on the matter and therefore is of the view that amending the timetable to reopen nominations is reasonably necessary in the circumstances. There are currently 77,970 candidates, of which 911 are independent. Following the proclamation of the election date on the 20th of September, the Commission will publish an amended election timetable which will provide truncated timelines. The truncated timelines is reasonably necessary to meet the outer deadline for the conduct of the 2021 municipal elections. Furthermore, the Commission has acquired 40,000 voter management devices which will be used for the first time over the registration weekend. And these devices will, in most registration stations, be functioning online. And this, we hope, will facilitate the process of voter verification almost instantaneously. The mapping functionality of the device will facilitate the correct registration of voters in relation to the ward of ordinary residents. The expectation is that the registration data will be consolidated sooner than hitherto been the case. This will allow for the inspection of voters' roll to be prepared and for objections to close on the 23rd of September 2021. The application for special votes will also open on the 20th of September 2021 and will close on the 4th of October 2021. The use of special votes will take on a heightened importance in this election because of the need to decongest the voting stations on the election day. And the Commission wishes to assure all South African citizens that it will spare no effort to deliver a credible process guided by the prescripts and electoral jurisprudence arising from our courts. I thank you.
Chairperson, thank you very much for your remarks. At this point in time, I'd like to open the floor to the members of the media that are joining us. Please introduce yourself by telling us your name and the media house from which you come. I am looking around. Mbali?
When it comes to reopening the submissions of candidates, you had consulted with some of the political parties. What was their reaction to it? I know that the DA has just released a statement saying that they will be opposing your list or the reopening of the candidate submissions. If we can just get an idea in terms of you consulting with political parties and what was their reaction to reopening this process, because it seems as if it does favor the ANC. They were the ones asking for this process to be reopened. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Natasha, please.
Just to follow up with Srinivadi's question, the DA and the EFF have since threatened legal action over the opening up of the CNS system, and the narrative still, there's a narrative that's still out there that the timetable. Where are we in terms of the Political Party Funding Act and the deadlines on which parties are supposed to declare?
Thank you very much. Chairperson, I am going to hand over to you.
Yes, thank you very much. I think perhaps one would like to say that what we've pointed out is that the consultation process at the PLC manifested divergent interpretations between the Commission and a number of the political parties. So while others also expressed appreciation, in fact, in numerical terms, I think the majority of the political parties would actually constitute what, back in the spirit of our democracy's inception, would have been a sufficient consensus to enable us to move forward. But in the period that we are in, where we no longer have the prevalence of the culture of sufficient consensus, yes, there were parties that did not agree with the interpretation. So that is the divergence of views that emerge in the discussions. But we need also to understand, when we talk about the PLC and the consultation, it does not mean that the Commission is seeking permission. We were heads up about our considerations before we would then come to the public. And the discussions we held with the Minister, and we clarified the position that we've adopted. And this then flows to the second question, that there seems to be another narrative. I think, Natasha, you would agree with me that the Commission was not expecting that everybody would be in agreement, but at the least, people would have an appreciation and understanding of the due process that the Commission is following. And in our case, we acting on the legal counsel advice on the table in terms of interpreting a very legalistic Constitutional Court judgment. The conclusion that we've reached is what now we've shared with yourselves. And may I invite the CEO to make the comment on the issue related to the political party funding.
Thank you, Chairperson. The first quarter report of the political parties funding
I see questions from the virtual platform. If I can just check, I'll come back to you, Natasha and Bali, in a minute.
Share the questions from the, just expanding my screen. The questions from the virtual platforms. We've got greetings. This is Sinesito from Record Newspaper. As the elections are set to take place this year, and previously the Commission raised that funding for the PPEs was not there. Can we get an update on PPE funding for the Commission?
Thank you very much, Kate.
And then maybe another question, Chairperson. Is the new election date 1 November 2021? It's a question. As from Linda. And then from Philip, do those that have already nominated to do anything unless they want to amend their nominations?
Okay.
And then, yeah, basically those are the questions. I'll come back on the next one.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chair.
Okay. I'm going to ask that we take all of those ones. I'm going to give them to the CEO. CEO, please. It's the issue of funding for PPEs, the election date, and an explanation about candidate nomination, please. Thank you.
Okay. The Treasury. The Commission, as per the statement, the Commission has indicated its preferred date to the Minister. The Minister is considering the matter, and as soon as those considerations are concluded, she'll be in a position to take the country into confidence by announcing the election date. In terms of the nominations, we will be opening the system, so all political parties will have an opportunity to confirm whether the people they've captured are the candidates they wish for, or whether they want to make amendments and all those types of things. And by the close of the new date of close of nomination, then they need to submit, indicating formally that those are the nominated candidates for the relevant political parties. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'll go to Natasha, and then Bali after that.
Just to follow up here with the CNS system. I mean, okay, so if the registration meeting is around the 18th to the 19th of September, can you perhaps give us like a specific timeline of when the CNS system will be open, you know, for some of these political parties like the ANC to resubmit claims to the IEC?
Bali, please.
I just wanted to ask, when it comes to, I know that you previously had indicated that despite COVID, we can't afford to have more voting days than just that one a day for the voting process. When it comes to special votes, have you looked at how many days the IEC can have special votes conducted? And when it comes to you undertaking this process with the Museneke inquiry, do you think that it was a frivolous exercise now? Because you are in a position where you conducted this inquiry, it found that if elections go ahead, they will not be free and fair. Where is your position now that you have done that process, it's gone to the ConCourt, and they're still saying that elections should go ahead, by the 1st of November? Thank you.
Question there, Kate.
Another question, Chairperson. How will the electronic registration process work, and has the being tested. Will any possible legal action from the DA delay the IEC's preparations and new timetable for the elections? Let me continue here with another question. There's quite a few of them. Another question says, just picking up my system, apologies about that. Chair, please proceed.
Okay, thank you very much. And the issue of the voting date is again a legal matter, special votes, and the two other questions that are there. Thank you very much.
Okay. The CNS system will close in line with the date to be prescribed in terms of the amended election timetable. And in terms of the draft that is before the Commission for consideration, that is the 21st of September. Now, in terms of the special votes, at the moment, we are working on the basis of 2 days of special votes. We have requested additional funding for an additional day, but that is yet to be confirmed. So depending on the outcome of that, the Commission may consider an additional day, but no decisions made in that regard. Now, was the Mseneke process, it was a very important process in our view. It balanced, in our view, very important constitutional imperatives, and that is the regularity of elections, the need to have a free and fair election, and thirdly, to preserve the psychological and bodily integrity of everybody. And because all those constitutional imperatives must be blended into an interpretation. However, we accept that the ConCourt didn't see the issue in the same way we did. And given where we are in terms of the ConCourt orders, we will endeavor to deliver an election as close as is possible to the constitutional standard. That's the commitment we're making to the country, that we will spare no effort to ensure that we get to as close to a constitutional standard as we can within the current COVID-19 constraints. Now, the candidate nomination system, the online system that is, has been used in 2016. And we didn't have difficulty. It was used again in 2019. No difficulty. It was used on this occasion, and as we speak, we have 77,970 candidates on that system. Of course, 55% were captured online, and the balance was captured via physical submissions at the offices of the local representative of the Commission. We've inbuilt in the system are audit trails. So we can tell you when a particular candidate was captured, by who was he or she captured, and all other related things. So from our vantage point, we don't believe there to be fundamental weaknesses in the system as alleged. The system has good checks and balances, and that system has given this country 2 solid elections in 2016 and in 2019. Insofar as the court action, we don't know what the nature of the court action is. We don't know which court will be approached, and frankly, it would be premature of us to give comment on a threatened court action. Suffice to say that the decision that the Commission has made has been carefully considered, and the Commission has taken necessary advice on the matter. So it's not a decision that was taken recklessly. It has been taken in the interest of free and fair election based on a solid legal advice in the light of the Constitutional Court orders. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yes, ma'am, another question. And what will verification of those nominated already be suspended until the new deadline? Another set of 3 questions. Does the IEC think it would have dealt with the process of this year's LGE elections differently when, given that it was aware of the COVID-19 pandemic since the beginning of 2020? A follow-through from that set of questions. There's an impression that the IEC has dropped the ball, that you would have approached Parliament directly instead of the Constitutional Court. What's your reaction now that the ConCourt has made its order? What impact would legal action brought by political parties in disagreement with the reopening of the candidate nomination have on the process set out above?
CEO, I'm going to ask you to do the personal verification on the CNS. Chairperson, I would imagine you would want to comment on the issues around LGE, etc., the general questions, and the last question.
The Commission believes that the course that it had taken was the right course. And there are a number of measures that the Commission took since the advent of COVID-19. We put together a protocol for use at voting stations, and we consulted with parties on that protocol, and we were all agreed that that is a necessary intervention to obviate possibilities of voting stations serving as places of contagion. But I think we need to remind ourselves that when COVID-19 was first detected in March last year, none of us anticipated that it will take as long as it have. None of us at that stage anticipated that there'll be all these different variants that emerged, and that we will have as many waves as we've had. In fact, medical science has been evolving via research, because the virus and its characteristics and its behavior could not be ascertained at the point of onset. It's only ascertained as we go along. So we've all been learning the nature of the pandemic as we went along. So certainly the Commission could not have anticipated in March 2020 that the pandemic will take as long as it has. Nor could the Commission have contemplated the different variants as we have heard. So that issue is one that we now know with hindsight the behavior of the virus. Now, there's this question about we should have gone to Parliament. I think that issue mischaracterizes the relief that the Commission sought. The Commission was not of the view that the term of municipal councils must be extended in perpetuity, because that's what you'll achieve with a constitutional amendment. Because you've got to say the term of municipal council is now 6 years or 7 years or whatever the case is. But that's not what the Commission was asking. The Commission was dealing with once in a lifetime crisis where 3 constitutional imperatives can't neatly sit together. That is the regularity of elections, free and fair elections, and the safety of people, which is why it asked the ConCourt to balance those imperatives by giving us an interpretation. Unfortunately, the ConCourt has not seen the matter as we did. It was a once-off type relief and not an intervention to extend in perpetuity the term of municipal councils. So that's what a constitutional amendment would have done, but that's not what we seek. But the Commission also believes that it is not its station to recommend the amendment of the Constitution. It's a supreme law of the country. The Commission is a Chapter 9 institution created in terms of that Constitution. So it is not our station to say, no, we like that, extend that, don't extend that. It can be. Ours is to ensure that we remain compliant and we play within the parameters of the constitutional provisions. Just to repeat what I said on the court action that is threatened, we are not able to offer comment on the court action because we don't know the nature of the relief sought, we don't know its scope, we don't know which court will be approached and so on. It will really be premature of us to offer comment. As soon as we are served papers, we will look at them and we will decide on a course of action, including making an assessment of what the impact of that would be on the court process, or on the electoral process. But we all have got to be mindful of the fact that we are working with very truncated timelines for this election, and we need to move with deliberate speed on many aspects of the electoral process. And we are asking really for everybody's cooperation so that we can give the country a credible process within a safe environment for the voters.
Thank you very much. Mbali, yes, please.
Yeah.
And just Lindile after you. Yes, please, Mbali.
Okay.
Do you need a mic?
It's
Okay, no problem. I guess more sound don't hurt.
Okay, I just wanted to find out, you had said that you are proposing another day for the special votes. And you, in your statement, you also spoke about trying to alleviate congestion on the day of the voting process. When it comes to this special vote, are you going to broaden the criteria for those who will be allowed to vote on those special voting days that you will be proposing for? And also, you've also just spoken about this truncated timetable that the IEC has. When it comes to that, how has this impacted, when it comes to you preparing for elections as the IEC, when it comes to other equally important activities that you always have to prepare for when it comes to the elections. And of course, this includes verification of voters and of course, evaluation of suitability of candidates. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Bali. There was Slindile over there, just behind you.
Just one more. In terms of the reopening of the candidates list, I mean, there's a view that this really favors certain political parties, in particular the ANC, and that there was nowhere in the ConCourt ruling that said that needed to take place. It only spoke mainly about the registration weekend. So just your thoughts on that, that it seems that the narrative now that's being said about the IEC is that you are not free and fair, that you are not impartial when it's coming to these local government elections, and that you are actually giving one political party a lifeline in terms of them being able to submit candidates now. And then lastly, is there an intention by the IEC to take, I think it's freedom for service delivery, a political party to court, and if so, why?
Slindile, can you please repeat the last question, please?
Is there an intention to take the Forum for Service Delivery Party to court, and if so, why?
Oh, okay. All right. May I please invite Commissioner Miepa? The chairperson would like you to comment to some of those questions.
I am not aware of the last one.
Commissioner.
I was saying that on the last question, Forum for Service Delivery, I am not aware. I haven't been able to pick up the entire question, and perhaps the CEO will deal with that. But on the issue relating to the Commission broadening criteria for special votes, I think we have looked at that issue in the past. We determined at that point that the categories were broad enough to help us deal with what we now have. This is a matter, if we were of the opinion that we need to broaden, it's an issue that is clear in legislation. Had we needed to change it, it may of necessity require an amendment, but we don't believe we need an amendment. We think it's open enough for us to deal with the categories of persons as we have in the Act. The issue of the narrative that we're acting in a way that seeks to ensure free and fair, that does not seek to ensure free and fair elections, but to advance positions of a party or other parties, is unfortunate. We reject it. We are clear that we have taken considerations that have brought us to where we are. It is not true that we are simply acting out of convenience. And that part, we have been at pains to make those who make the allegations come to appreciate. And we do respect their view. In the consultations with the political parties earlier today, evidently, a majority of the parties support the view. And as we indicated, those that don't support the view, we have to respect their position. And to the extent that they may be aggrieved, we need to deal with those issues. And those are issues we will deal with ordinarily. I think those were the questions we had or I had to deal with. Thank you very much.
CEO, could you just for once again talk to the issue, the impact of what you described as a truncated election timetable, and I think explain that we do prepare elections for much longer than what the election timetable provides, please. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Thank you. The truncated timetable mean that instead of doing certain electoral activities, let's say within 2 weeks, we now need to reduce the time and do them in a shorter period. For example, ordinarily, an election timetable will take 70 days, thereabout, 80 days, thereabout. In the current circumstances, we only have maybe 40 days, 30-something days, thereabout. So we've got to congest processes to be able to deliver an election by the 1st of November as per the ConCourt order. But remember, we've always been saying that we will be technically ready to deliver the election. Insofar as the training of staff for registration, that has already been completed. Insofar as the procurement of voter management devices, their testing, uploading of the software, that is done. All our logistical all our logistics, the logistical items are already for registration, are already in the warehouse. PPE for registration already in the warehouse. That's what we meant when we continuously said we will be technically ready. What we now need to do ahead of the registration weekend is to activate the trained staff and check on their availability for the 18th and 19th. And importantly, we now need to confirm with the landlords, because a venue may have been available when we signed the lease a few months ago, but circumstances may now have changed. So we have to then go back to all the landlords to ensure that those venues are available on the 18th and 19th. The issue of Forum for Service Delivery, they wrote a letter and said, in their view, we can't open the nomination process. We responded to say we disagree on the strength of the advice before us. I'm not aware of any action against them at this stage. Now, there's an issue that is coming up to say that we are assisting the ANC. The reopening of the nomination process has to do with all political parties and candidates, and that the opening of the nominations is consequential to a voter registration weekend that we are conducting on the 18th and 19th. When the process closed, the nomination process closed, the ANC requested the system to be opened. The Commission declined to say we cannot reopen on an ad hoc basis for one party, that type thing. We refused. They wrote a legal letter, we refused. Because in the view of the Commission, that would have amounted to an ad hoc amendment of the timetable, which is something that is not necessary if free and fair elections are to be realized. What we are dealing with now is a completely changed circumstance where a registration weekend is held, where new entrants onto the roll are admitted, and certainly there may be new candidates who are now eligible because they've registered for the first time, and those must be given opportunity. That's what we're dealing with. There's also been reference to the previous cases of the IFP, the NFP, and so on. Those cases are completely different because at that point, the voter registration had been had, and opening in both of those cases would have amounted to an ad hoc amendment of the timetable to assist a single party in those cases. In this circumstance, there's an inextricable link between the voter registration and ability of those who are on the voters' roll to participate as candidates potentially. The last one that comes from Kate's thing is, when do we expect the new timetable? The Commission will publish a new timetable on the date on which the Minister proclaims the election date. But if you read the statement, already we've given you some preliminary dates that we're working on. Firstly, the registration weekend on the 18th and 19th, proclamation date on the 20th, the opening of applications for special votes from the 20th until the 4th of October, and then the close of candidates' nomination process on the 21st, and so on and so on. So there are some of the preliminary dates that are provided in the statement. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'd like to give the Vice Chairperson an opportunity to say a few words, and then I will try and conclude this. Gentlemen, are you able to, or you prefer it?
No,
okay. And this is not musical chairs, guys.
I think the important thing is that nobody has received the judgment, and none of us, public, the Commission, any of the organizations and individuals who may want to receive it, we don't know when it will be received. So all that the Commission can do is to act on the basis of the order and our mandate. And that means that we have to do everything we can to achieve free and fair elections for everybody. And it simply means that we have to enable the right of those people who are entitled to vote to be exercised to the greatest extent possible. We also have to ensure that we enable those who wish and are qualified to stand for election to stand for election. Our view is that the choice has to be the choice of the voters, and we have to enable that to the greatest extent possible in a manner that treats all political parties, all independent candidates equally. And that's what we're trying to do. Is this our ideal scenario, our preferred scenario? Clearly not. We went to the court with other proposals, but these were not proposals that were embraced by the court. So we can only act on the basis of our mandate and what the order is saying to us and our interpretation of that. And I feel that at the moment, the idea of different narratives and so on are narratives that also are based to some extent on selective memory, in the sense that a number of the organizations that have expressed themselves in the Party Liaison Committee as being in support of what the Commission is proposing to do are doing it on the basis that they too have had candidates not accepted. Indeed, even in the court case, there was a political party that went to court to express itself on the fact that it was concerned about the possibility for candidates, its candidate entry into the system. So our decision is not to discriminate against any of those. It's a decision that is to enable everybody. And I think that that's really something that as a commission we really want to convey very, very clearly, very, very strongly, regardless of what narratives there are and regardless of what kind of selective memory is part of those narratives. Thanks very much.
Thank you very much, Commissioners, to CEO and your team. In conclusion, I'd just like to make 3 points. The first one, in summary, it is to emphasize the fact that it is not only just one political party that will stand to benefit from the CNS being opened. So contrary to whatever narratives may be out there, I did sit in today's National Party Liaison Committee, and I can tell you, for whatever it is worth, that there are many parties that are in a similar position. Maybe the how pronounced it is across political parties may vary, but certainly it affects more than just one political party. And then I would also like to say something and beg the indulgence of the Commission as I say this. There has been allegations that the Electoral Commission has been tardy. Tardy is a very interesting choice of word. And I think on behalf of the staff of the Electoral Commission, I'd like to say this, that the Electoral Commission and its staff has not been tardy at any time. We have stuck to our end of the bargain. We have made sure that what we are required to do in law, we have done. We did not go to the Constitutional Court in order to deal with any kind of dropping the ball or tardiness or any refusal to do what it is that you expect us to do. We did everything as that we should have done. However, the reality is this. There are certain things that you cannot do before certain things happen. For example, there are things that you cannot do before there is a proclamation. There are certain things that you cannot do until you have all the candidates that you have, and then you proceed, and so on it goes. Good analogy is a train. This is a train. It's a long, long train. It is made out of many, many little carriages. You move one, you touch the next. So tardiness, no. And I think that is what the Vice Chairperson has been trying to say. And then the final thing that I would like to say on behalf of the Commission and everyone else, it is that we did not go to the Constitutional Court in order to argue anything except to ask for help in terms of dealing with 3 competing rights that are accorded to us by the very same Constitution. We had a dilemma, yes, and that is why we went to the Constitutional Court. Just because the Constitutional Court dismissed our prayers does not mean that our approach to the Constitutional Court was invalid or it was intended to hide some kind of tardiness. Same thing applies to the Mosinic process. Just because the things that followed up to the Mosinic process, the fact that it has not been borne out by a ruling by the Constitutional Court that we would have desired does not invalidate why we started the process of the Mosinic inquiry. And on those words, ladies and gentlemen, to all our dear South Africans, these are indeed difficult times, they're complex times, but we will get through them. And on that note, I thank you for tuning in. We will continue calling you and explaining to you whatever narratives may be there. allow us and hear our narrative as well. Thank you very much.